Hi there. I thought I'd talk to you today about what it took to put a DT125 motor into my 1989 Yamaha YSR50. It took me about a couple of years. I purchased this bike as a basket case. It came with the powder coated frame, it came with the calamari pipe, it's got a calamari dual spring kit, it's got the calamari quarter throttle and the stainless steel brake line kit as well. The first thing I decided to tackle was the motor mounts. When I got the bike, it only had the top motor mount attached. So basically what I did was use the stock YSR50 mounts on the top in the front, or the top mount and then the bottom front mount. Or basically just YSR50 mounts. They're just they just have some spacers in there, so that part's pretty easy. The only hard mount to make is kind of the mount here in the back. So what I ended up doing was, there's some natural bosses in the frame right here on the YSR, and I just welded a piece of tubing between them, and then two ears that just went right into the to the tube, and then right into the motor. It was pretty easy. So wasn't too hard. Basically, it's a 1982 DT125 motor. They make 12 horsepower stock. This one should be making quite a bit more. The reason they only make 12 horsepower stock is they come with tiny carb and tiny jets, and they also have a kind of like a ring welded in the pipe that restricts airflow. So this is a 28 millimeter, brand new 28 millimeter Mikuni. Right now I have a 250 main jet and a 25 pilot, and the clip is one notch rich from the middle. And then it's got an uni filter. The intake, I believe, is from a DT175. I bought a couple of them on eBay because I had a little trouble finding one that would clear the cases. And this 28 millimeter is pretty tall. With a 24 millimeter, I think you would have a little bit easier time. So like I said before, it's got a calamari pipe. Originally, I had the pipe pretty much stock. I only had to bend it a little tiny bit to get it to mate up to the motor. And when I first got it running, it was running really rich, and I really couldn't get it to accelerate, and I was just wondering if that pipe was just too small for the motor. It ended up being that the pipe was clogged right here, and I didn't notice it. Even though I had cleaned the pipe out, I guess I really didn't. I had to really get in there. This was all caked up in there. So before I realized that, I bought a DT125 pipe on eBay. I cut the restrictor out of it, and it wasn't too hard. Basically, I had to cut the pipe in one spot and twist it so the bend would come up and under and mate with the Team Calamari cone. I was kind of surprised at how easily that it made it up. It only took me a couple hours to weld it and fab it up, and it actually came out pretty good. And then I just painted it with some high heat flat black. So that kind of covers just getting the motor in. One of the problems I also had is the stator that came with the motor. The motor was rebuilt. I know the guy who owned who was a previous owner of this bike 2 owners ago, and he had the motor rebuilt. It's decked and it's bored over, and it's only got like 100 miles on it now. I put about 100 miles on it since I got it running. So what I ended up doing with the stator is I bought this vape, Super Dynamo vape. It's a company from Eastern Europe. Basically, it converts, and also had to convert it all to 12 volt. I can talk a little bit about that later, but the vape kit just basically gives you the stator and your coil, and everything's it's super simple. You just slap it on there, and basically the bike will run just with the vape. So you can run this vape independently and not run any lights or whatever, just like on a dirt bike or whatever, or it has the ability to charge the battery. So what I ended up doing was going with this little tiny anti-gravity battery. It's just kind of held in with around with an RC car support strap. And then for the electronics, so basically I had all of the switch gear came with the bike, like the turn signals and all this stuff. but I didn't have any of the other wiring, like the flashers, any of that stuff. So I went online, I just Googled universal motorcycle wiring harness. And one of the first things that came up was this one by Billet Proof Designs. They're about I think it's about $150. I might switch this out for something a little bit more hardy later, but it seems to be, I mean, it works fine. Everything works. So I didn't really have too much trouble wiring it up. I just followed the directions. Now the directions can be a little confusing on this. They are printed backwards. So that took a little bit of time to figure out. So basically it's just, it's the vape system. It just charges the battery, and then everything is run off of this box. And I hooked it into all of the switchgear, all of the Yamaha switchgear. So I decided to delete the oil tank. I could run a Yamaha lube on this, but I just decided premix was just kind of the way to go for me. So that's what I did. So the gauges are DT125 gauges. I basically just lopped the ears off of the stock mount there, and then just welded 2 ears, one in each direction, mounted them right on there. Speedometer cable is the YSR50 speedometer cable, works fine. I had to shorten a stock DT125 tack cable to get that to work. Basically just went to Napa and got one of those universal kits and made that work. So one of the hardest things I think on these swaps, and kind of a bummer, is you don't see a lot of them where people can kickstart them, because it's hard to find a Kickstarter that works, right? But what I ended up doing over here was just kind of coming up with this system where I could put the brake lever on a pivot. So what I ended up doing was, this is just an old kickstart lever, just like this. You can kind of see the similarities there, that I welded on the brake lever to. There's a natural detent in there, right? So you just, boom, it just goes down there, super sturdy, works fine. And then, obviously the pegs are just on the swivel anyway. So when you want to start it, you just basically pop, pop, boom, fire it up, pop, pop, away you go. The paint is a single stage acrylic urethane. It came out pretty good. Laid down pretty flat. I got it from, I forget where I got the paint from, but one of those online paint houses. And I live in California, so I had to get the low VOC, which is kind of a bummer, but it seemed to lay down pretty good. And then the graphics are from TFB Designs. I think I gotta say, they're a pretty good deal. I think it's only like $130, $140. I forget the price, forgive me right now, but it's a pretty good deal for all these stickers that you get with it. And I think it came out pretty well. I took the tank and the tail off, you can see over here, to kind of show you a little bit more about what was going on. And I think that's about it. Like I said, it took me a couple of years of working on and off to finish it. But it runs great. I mean, it's a DT125, super reliable. I've gotten up to about 75. I think it'll do 80 maybe 85 if you have a long enough straightaway and hold it open long enough. It runs great, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And thanks for watching my video.